I love the way these 3D letters turned out for a spooky cute Halloween, so I decided to share how I created the cut file. Stay tuned. Hi, it's me. Today I'm going to share the process of creating the 3D letter Boo. If you've seen some of my shorts, you've seen that these 3D letters is something that I've been working on and making, and I also sell them in my shop. But I figure some of my maker friends would love to attempt to try to make this themselves. So I'm going to show you how I went about designing this in Cricut Design Space from the beginning. Because sharing is caring, and I believe anybody can do this. So first we're going to start off with a new project, and then we're going to start inserting all the images. The first image we're going to put into our project is the letter B. And this is the image design ID that was a part of it. So here it is. Here's the letter B. And if you click on the three dots, you can click on View Image Sets, and you can see the entire set of 3D letters. These letters are not included with your Cricut Access subscription. You do have to pay an additional fee for them, just an FYI. And Lori Whitlock also sells these files outside of it. Again, these are just the 3D letters that I'm using. You can use whatever 3D letters you want. So I've already clicked on the letter B, and I'm clicking O, and I'm going to add them to my canvas. And then after some time, Cricut adds them to your canvas, and each letter is grouped together. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit and move the O to the right. So now if you're looking at these letter templates, just a really quick overview of them, let's take a look at the letter B. When I take a look at the letter B, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You see that there are some score lines where you're going to fold. And they also have these little O's, or these little, O's. 1, 2, 0, 3 O's. And that's just to show how the edges connect. These pieces right here without any kind of symbol are the B circular middle. And these letters didn't come with any instructions, so I kind of figured that out on my own. All right, so these yellow bees that you see here are actually the decoration that goes on top of the outside. So all the tan colors is the base, and then the colorful things that you see there are the decorations that go inside. So now I'm going to ungroup these letters from their patterns, I guess, from each other, and then I'm going to click on one of them so I can see how big it's going to be. So this is the letter B, and I have it selected, and this is going to be how big it is. So you can see the height's like a little over 4 something inches, but I want these letters to be about 8 inches, and I'm picking 8 inches because I know that's what's going to fit on my paper. It's actually just a little under 8 inches, and that will get it to fit correctly onto my 12 by 12 paper. So see this one right here, it's like 5.5. So let me back up a little bit and tell you what I did there. I selected everything. So you have to select all the letters you're going to use so that they'll be the same height, and then you can expand them together just like that. That's like the easiest way that I know how to resize the letters. Select everything and then expand them all together so that they stay proportionate with one another. If there's an easier way to make these any bigger, please let me know. Or resize them, please let me know, because this is what you have to do. Select everything, resize, and then click so you can kind of see where the size is at. As you can see, that size was a little bit too big, so we're gonna make it a little bit smaller all together now, and then hopefully that'll be good enough. So yes, in my eyes, that is good enough. And I am ready to copy that letter O. So I'm going to highlight all the patterns for the letter O, and I'm going to click the duplicate button, and it's going to make another copy of it. So there's the duplicate copy of the letter O, and I'm just going to put it to the side. So now we can kind of see the word Boo coming together. And if we zoom out a little bit more, we see Boo with all of its little pieces and things that we're going to glue together later. Next, we're going to move on to the step of adding the rest of our images to our file. But before I do that, I want to show you the mistake I made when searching up the images. I was still under image sets, and so now it looks like there's no image for my bat, even though I'm pretty sure I have the right ID. I had to get out of that image set and make sure I was searching all the images. So yeah, just a heads up. And notice it's still not showing up, and I'm like, what the heck? And it's because I made a mistake. So now that I've got the right image ID in there, here is my little bat. I am going to click it, and I am going to add it to my canvas. There it is. Let's add it. And then it is so tiny. So I'm going to move it towards the center, and I'm going to make it larger just so I could see what's going on there. And when I do, I notice that there's things in there I don't really need. And this grouped image has the sun and clouds and some stars, and I don't need it. I could get rid of those by hiding them, like so, by clicking on the little eye, or I could just delete it all together. So I'm gonna ungroup this grouped image, and then I'm just gonna delete the piece that I don't need so that I no longer have to see it. So ta-da, there is my bat. Let's move on to the next image. So now we're going to click on images, and then once it loads, we're gonna clear that off and make sure it says search in all images in that little box right there. And then we're gonna type in the next image, and I believe this is going to be the spider web. So once I put in the image ID, there's a little spider web. We're gonna click it, and then we're going to add it to the canvas. And once it is added to the canvas like this, I'm gonna move it down, and I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger just so I could see what's going on there. I tend to work zoomed out because a lot of the files I have are big, so I'm constantly resizing my images. So anyways, let's add the next image, which is going to be the witch's hat. Again, clear it out, type in the image ID, which is listed in the description. And once I type in that image ID as quickly as I can, we'll have the witch's hat. And I'm going to click it and add it to the canvas. And there is one more image after this sky. So, but before that, we've got to take this hat, move it to a place where we can see it, and then we're gonna make it really big, just so we know it's there, because when it's really small, you can't see it. So anyways, moving on to the skeleton. So let's take the skeleton, and we're gonna look him up with the image ID provided, or the image ID that I have. And once we find that little image, I'm typing very slowly for some reason, we are going to see that he's just bones. So we're going to take his bones and we're going to add him to the canvas. And when he pops up, you'll see he's also very tiny, just as tiny as the bat. And I think they're just tiny because these weren't meant to be enlarged this way. But we're going to do it. So I'm going to make them larger, and there are the 4 images that are used to decorate our letter B and the 2 O's. So we're decorating the word boo. I'm going to move these out of the way so that I can focus on getting to the next step, which is recoloring the word boo. Okay, so now I'm going to select one of the tanned colored template items, and in this case I'm going to select B because I know all the template for the 3D letters are tanned. So I'm going to select B, and I'm going to color it black, and then I'm going to click color sync. And color sync is a nice way where you can change the colors of something very, very easily. So here are all the tan colored items. I'm just going to collapse that and then drag it all the way up to the section where the black letters are. And boom, now they're all black. And apparently my bat and spiderweb, or is that my witch's hat, they're not true black, so I'm just going to move them up there as well. So now all those pieces are the same color. Yay! Let's move on to the next step. All right, so the next step is to get rid of things we don't need again. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the inset. It's what goes on top of the finished letter. And then this guy right here, which is the backwards B, goes on the back of the letter like this. But we don't really need that for this particular project, so I'm just going to delete it. So I'm going to delete the B, the O, and then the other O. So now we only have the pieces we need for our 3D letter. So I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to select that B, the cover, the O, the cover for the O, other O, and the other cover. And by cover, that is the cover or the last piece of the 3D letter. So now I'm going to move all these inset pieces, or the pieces that go on top of the cover of the letter, so that I can visualize what everything is going to look like. Now I'm going to save. And saving is your friend, because you never know if your computer is going to crash or if Design Space is going to have an issue. So save as often as you can, especially if you've completed a significant amount of work or something that's more detailed. So now that everything has been placed kind of where I want it to go, I am going to put these guys closer down, because now my focus is going to be decorating the word boo. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit using the tools at the bottom, or shift and my the scroll on my mouse. Use that if you have it, it's faster. And then I'm going to move all the boo letters closer together so that I can zoom in even closer because my old lady eyes can't see it. And also it's just pretty small, right? So let's just move all these together. This is just something I like to do. It's totally not necessary, but it helps me to just visualize everything, especially if I'm working on a new design or a new file. I also like to take those inset pieces and then center them. So if you center everything, you can click this center button right here, and then they're all nice and centered, and this just needs to go a tiny bit to the right. All right, so the first thing is we need to make these the color that I want them to be so I could visualize the design. For these, I will make them the color purple. I love purple, so we're gonna make them purple. And now inside of these, in the 3D letters I made, I had another inset piece. And to do inset, you click the pieces you want and then hit offset, and then you put in a negative number. So see how when it's a positive number, the blue outline is around everything? If I were to change that number, so instead of it being a positive number to a negative number, so let's say negative 0.25, notice how the blue lines go inside. So that's called an inset. So the inset just makes it go inside and the offset makes it go outside. So now I'm going to change it so that instead of having a more curved edge, it has here's the curved edge, right? And then here is the sharp edge. I like the sharp edge for this because there's no funky things. Sometimes that doesn't work well on certain letters. So I'm going to turn off the weld and then I'm going to click apply. So now we see there's this beautiful black inset. I don't like the way that B looks, so I'm going to undo it and I'm going to tweak my value of my inset. So I'm just going to select everything again, go to offset and update my negative number to something a little bit bigger, right? Or smaller. So there it is, negative 0.15, sharp edges and no welding so that I can move them around freely. So let's see. Much, much better. So these are my insets and then I want them to be green. So now we have boo. So the letters are cool like this. You could just leave them like that and then call it a night. But I want to add a little bit more to it to make it a little bit more fun. And before I do that, I saved my project because this part you could easily mess up on. So the next step is to update each letter boo with a web because that's going to be the common theme across all of them. So this is the web and it's going to go on the B, the O, and then the other O. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it to see where I want to place it. But I don't want to mess up my original web. I like to keep a copy of my original web. So once I have that copy of my original web, I like to duplicate it. So I'm going to click on it and then I'm going to hit Control D. And by doing Control D, it duplicates the image. So there it is. I'm going to do one Control D, another Control D, and another Control D. So I have 3 additional copies of my web that are going to go somewhere on my letters, right? So you could do whichever way you want, where you want them. If you don't like where I put them where you feel makes you happy, because again, this is your project. So yeah, make it your own, right? So here is where I want to put them all. So I can't just leave these here and then manually cut them off after I glue everything together, but I'm gonna have this tool work for me so that later on I don't have to do so much work, because I believe in working efficiently. So once I've resized everything, I am going to cut up that spider web. First, let me show you something that you shouldn't do, and so that I can explain what you should do, but I want to show you what you shouldn't do first so you know why I'm doing what I'm doing. So select the larger B, which is the black B on the outside, and then make a copy of it, Control D, and then line it up with the web. And we're going to leave everything in there, and then we're going to select that B along with the spider web, and we're going to use this little tool called Slice. When you slice it, what it's going to do is it's going to cut the pieces so that they cut holes where there's holes, and then leave what's overlapped. So just to illustrate it, let me make this a weird color so we could see. So here is the spider web. So see how it kind of cut where there were spaces and then left what was not spaces. So it just cuts everything. So here it is. I deleted that, and now I have this web thing here. Now the problem with this is I don't like that there's this big square in the middle of my web. I kind of wanted the web to sit on top of that hole. See that hole? It looks weird, right? So I want my web to like cover that hole. So let me show you the way to cut that out so that it covers the hole. So I'm going to delete this. And then we're going to make another copy of the spider web. See why we saved the original? And now I'm going to put it back where I want it, and I am going to resize it. So I think I want it right here, and then I'm going to shrink it just a little bit, and then I think I'm good here. So we're going to start over, and we're going to take this the back of the bee, or the cover, and then we're going to duplicate it and make a copy. Now I'm going to make it a color I don't like so that I remember I don't want to keep this, and I'm going to put it on top of all the bees, right? And then I'm going to highlight all those bees, and I'm going to align center so that I get an idea, make sure everything is where it's going to be, especially that web. So remember, we want the web to go through the bee. So we have to hide those holes in the bee. And to do that, you click the contour button, and then you hide those little circles by clicking them. So see, now the holes in the bee disappeared. So once we take this, just bring it to the front for visualization purposes. Click on the bee, hold down Shift, and click the web. And I said that backwards, but you got the point. And now we're going to slice it. So once you slice it, it's going to wink at you. Bink, it winked. And now it's going to create all these sliced pieces of the web and of the bee. So you'll see them added to your layers at the very top. So once that happens, we're going to delete what we don't need. So we're going to move that out of the way, actually. Let's just move that out of the way. We don't need that. Let's take a look at this. We don't need that because everything we want is inside, right? It's on top of the bee. So next we're going to move this piece out of the way because there's probably a piece hiding there. And there it is. We don't want that. It's not the color we wanted. We wanted to delete that color. So we're going to delete that. But now I have this beautiful web that covers the whole of the bee, just like that, right? So now we're going to repeat the process on the two O's, and we're going to go a little bit faster. Okay, so we're going to select the outer O, or the very, very O in the back, and we're going to duplicate it, Control D. Now we're going to set on top of all the other O's, and we're going to make it a color we don't like because we want to remember to delete it. Highlight all the O pieces and then align them center so that we get an idea of where our web is going to fall. Take your web and bring it to the front. Okay, so once everything is brought to the front, or the web's brought to the front, now we select the O. We click the contour button and we get rid of the O's hole. So that way we have just the big old O. Now click on the spider web, hold down Shift, and then click the O. Now click on Slice. Now we're going to slice it, and then in a second it's going to wink at us. See, it's going to wink. Wink, and then all these layers are added to the top of your layers. So now we're going to delete what we don't need. So if you see here, we have this top piece right here. I don't think I need the outside piece. So I'm going to hit delete and it's gone. Now I have this web piece, which I think I want. So I'm going to look at it and yep, that's the one I want. And now I'm going to get rid of all the colors I don't like. So I don't like those. So now I'm left with the piece I want, and it covers the whole of the O. It's really, really cool. And once you get the hang of slicing and how it works, you can create basically anything you want in your project, or welding and stuff like that. If you want, I could do a full tutorial on that because you can get pretty creative with combining and subtracting and doing all that stuff in Design Space. So here it is again. I created my O, I sliced it, it winked, and now I'm deleting all the pieces that I don't need, and it's pretty cool. So ta-da, look at that, amazing. So again, this looks cool because there's some webs in it. I don't need that web, so I'm going to delete it. But yes, this looks really cool all by itself. But because we're going to be extra today, we're going to add some more little graphics on top of it, starting with the witch hat. And this is the easy one because we're not really going to do very modifications to the witch's hat. So the witch's hat is going to go on top of the bee, and the reason why I picked bee because B for bruja in Spanish, and in Tagalog means witch. So it makes sense that the witch's hat would go on top of the bee. Now, even though it doesn't cut this way at an angle, I like to angle it just so, again, I could visualize it. Now I'm going to take this grouped image and I'm going to change the color of that little band there from purple to orange, and then I'm going to change the color of the buckle to white because I plan on cutting this in glow-in-the-dark HTV. All right, so the witch's hat is done. Now we're going to move on to the next image, which is not going to be this bat because there's a couple of steps related to this simple little bat. Instead, we're going to move on to the skeleton. We're going from easiest to hardest, right? So let's take this skeleton. And because the skeleton is literally just bones, there is nothing for it to adhere onto, right? So as I'm sizing it, I'm saying, oh my gosh, there's nowhere for all those bones to stick to. So I have to create an offset. And to do that, we're going to click on the skeleton. We're going to bring this to the front so I could see it better, right? So here's the skeleton. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the skeleton and then we're going to click on offset. And we're going to click offset. And we're going to change it from a negative to a positive. So we're going to start with 0.25 positive, and then we're going to apply that. There it is. And so there is my skeleton, and I want his offset to be orange so that it matches the belt on the witch's hat. See how the colors tying in together? This is how I think. But you can make them any color that you want. Please use your own creativity. So after doing the skeleton, I decided that the offset was a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it smaller. And the important thing about this offset is to make sure that the pieces are touching each other so that the offset becomes a single piece. Sometimes if you make an offset too small, those pieces like on the inside of the skeleton won't touch. So now they're all touching each other, and I'm going to make it orange. And there he is, my happy little skeleton. I'm going to group him together so that I don't lose all the pieces. And ta-da, there he is. I'm going to tilt him. And I think he's really big, so I'm going to make him smaller. And yes, he's going to be cut in HTV as well, and I'm going to put him on top of that offset. So there he is. My skeleton is done, and now I'm going to save, and I'm going to work on this bat. So if you're looking at this bat, you'll notice that it's just one big cut, and you could see through its eyeballs and you could see everything behind it, and it's a little bit fragile, right? Which is okay, but I want to make him more colorful, and I wanted to implement some orange. So what I did was I took this bat and I made a copy of him. I duplicated it, and on this duplicated copy, I got rid of all the cuts on the inside so that I could use this as a background to the bat. And as you can see, when I hit all contours, it accidentally hit everything except for the pieces that I wanted it to hide. So I'm just clicking around, playing with the contour to make sure that I just have a solid piece. And when I close this, you'll see the bat right there, and now he's just one solid piece, and I'm going to make it orange for now. And I am going to put it behind that guy. So I'm just arranging my pieces. So there he is. He's cut out. So ta-da. So this is cute, right? But I want this guy to have another glow-in-the-dark element. So it's really cute like this, but gluing down those little circles in the eyeballs is going to be really, really hard for me later, and I don't want to stress myself out. So I'm going to do some fancy slicing so that I could just cut out the eyeballs and the teeth so that I can HTV it later. So I made another copy of the bat, and on top of that bat, I'm going to put this circle. And when I take this circle and put on top of the bat, I'm going to make sure that I cover its eyes and its mouth, just like that. And then I'm going to select that circle and then along with the bat, just like this, and I'm going to click slice. And then once it winks at me or it blinks at me, it's going to create some layers, and one of those layers is only going to contain the eyes and the mouth. So here it is, deleting what I don't like, and boom, now I've got eyes and a mouth. And this eyes and the mouth is going to be cut in the HTV that glows in the dark, so it's going to look really cool. So this guy, yes, I can just easily HTV him on top of that, but it's going to be a little bit challenging to get the right placement, or it's not going to be easy or even. I still have those two little dots in there that I don't want. See those little black dots there? I don't want those black dots to be tiny little cutouts. So I'm going to mess around with this just a little bit so that it's easier for me to deal with. But before that, I think I want to make my bat orange. So the background is going to be black and then the foreground is going to be orange. So there it is. So we want to get rid of those orange dots. See those little tiny orange dots in there? I don't want them. So see that? I don't want it. I just don't enjoy looking for tiny little dots, and those are really small. So I'm gonna move the white eyeballs out of the way, and I'm gonna do some more fancy contouring to get rid of the things I don't need. So in this case, I don't need that big circle around the little circles. I'm okay with it cutting out the little circles, but I don't want to glue those little circles. So let me see if this makes sense. So I wanted to cut out the little circles, but I don't want to have to glue the little circle. So I'm going to get rid of the big circle around those little circles. And to do that, I have to scroll through here because sometimes when you're clicking on the image in Hide Contour, it's harder. So I had to search for it in that little list of things to contour out. So there are those two little dots that used to be orange, but now they're not. But when I place this white piece on top of it, it matches up perfectly. So now I'm going to know where to put my white eyeballs and teeth, and I plan on cutting it out with HTV so it won't be so bad. So there it is. There's my little bat with some HTV, and or it's gonna have HTV. So let's take this and group it all together, and then we are ready to place it on top of our O, or to show ourselves where we're gonna place it. So I'm going to resize it, and then I am going to put it right here. So hello little bat, I'm gonna make you a little smaller than that. Oh, that rhymed. And I'm going to terse it. You can put it like this or like that. And when you're working on your own project, you can use any image you want. I just like the witch's hat, the bat, and the skeleton. So yeah, they're like some of my favorite Halloween things. Along with this color scheme, it's my favorite. Purple, green, orange, black. Perfect for me. So yes, get creative with it. Make it your own. And before I send everything off to make it mode and to cut everything, I like to double check all of my colors to make sure that they're exactly what I want, because earlier remember we saw that the black was not really black. So the same thing is happening with the skeleton. He's not really white. So I'm going to take him and use Color Sync to drag him to where he belongs. So now all I really have is black, green, purple, orange, and then white, which is going to be my glow-in-the-dark heat transfer vinyl. So yay, that makes me really happy. So now once we have everything that we need and you're ready to make it, you can go ahead and click make it and cut it. I'm not going to cut it or assemble it in this video, but I am going to show you about how much paper this project is going to require. So let's click make it, and while it's sorting it on the mat, we see that we're going to need some HTV here, and this is the size that you're going to need. It's about 6 by 6, and then we're going to need several sheets of black cardstock. I believe that's 8 or 9 sheets. It's 9 sheets of black cardstock. Then we're going to need, and this is all 12 by 12 by the way, and then we're going to need a little bit of orange. You can probably use 8.5 by 11 there, and then you're going to need a 12 by 12 green, and it looks like it's trying to sort it so that you need 2 12 by 12 sheets, but I think we could do better. So if you go into here and you change the mat to 12 by 24, we can actually rotate this B here at the bottom. So just rotate it like so that the B falls just above the 12-inch mark. So if you use a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, you can place it on a 12 by 24-inch mat, and then boom, you could send it right through. Sometimes we have to trick our machines so that we could use the paper that we want. I mean, those guidelines do serve a purpose, but sometimes you should work around them to save paper. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still here, I really appreciate it. I know it's longer than normal. If you have any questions, comment down below. Thank you. Take care. Bye.